All right, gang. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Casual. Excuse. My name is Chuck. I'm your esoteric crypto coach. And what does esoteric mean? Well, watch some of the first videos that I put out so far. I put out about 15 of them. Basically, esoteric is just the inner wisdom, to put it simple. All right, and it's in plain sight for you to learn. Cryptocurrency is there to help you become millionaires, billionaires, whatever it is you want to be, or five figures, six figures, whatever it is. That's more than what you have. Because when you have more than what you have, you're no longer the have not, you're the have. And so instead of being part of the 99% sheeple, you can actually have freedom. And that's sort of what our theme today is. And for me, Bitcoin is just the new upgrades to humans, and then we're being downloaded with the new consciousness, and that new consciousness is like it was in the late 1800s or mid to late 1800s, where all the new inventions were being made, new philosophies, new theories, new religions, reformations, and so on. And so for me, we're in a new consciousness stage. We went from 110 humans and we're going to 220, or what I call Homo Illuminus. And for me, BTC is a manifestation of that new consciousness, the 220. And it's coming out with faster, more secure, divisible. There's nothing dividing us, if you will. We're borderless. We're incentivized. We're helping each other. Right? The borders, there is no borders in crypto or in Bitcoin. Everyone around the world helps supports it, helps keeps it. I don't care what your belief philosophy is. You're keeping, as long as you use cryptocurrencies. I don't care if you're in Russia, China, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria. I don't care where you're at. As long as you're using Bitcoin, you're keeping it secure. So thank all of y'all. Right. For those who are new to this channel, for me, I see cryptocurrencies, the blockchain is the new consciousness, as I said. And for me, BTC is the binary Christ, if you will. Not to be blasphemic to anyone or do blasphemy on anyone. For me, Christ is a consciousness. Just look it up in the etymologies in the Latin. It's a consciousness. And so consciousness is the same for me as electricity. We're going from the Son to the Father, if you want to use those iconic mythologies. But for me, Bitcoin just is leading us in this new, out of the sheeple and into the helping ourselves. And that means Bitcoin for me is the financial freedom that gets us all there. To anyone who's seeking it, it will show up for you. Everything you need to know about becoming wealthy, independent, sentient being, then everything, Bitcoin can teach you everything. And it's not a one-all, it's not a religion for me, it's a hobby. But the understanding, I always understand my own language when I study someone else's language. So let's look at it that way. So I'm basically here just to teach fundamental, successful financial strategies that have worked for me over the years, the ones that haven't worked for me over the years. And then what's really helped me out is personal frameworks, cognitive behavioral therapy, studying that, helping others with that. And then just helping people just grow rich and have a simple life and a rich life. A lot of the people I'm around don't like complication. They do want to have more freedoms, and in our society, it's easy sometimes, if that's your belief, that if you have a lot of money, you can do what you want and you have more options. But with those many options also come more troubles if your thoughts and your frameworks are less than or poverty mentality. So the more money you make, it's just more headaches for you. But if you have a free and simple spirit, soul, whatever you want to call this, no matter what thing comes into your life, be it Bitcoin, binary, or whatever, it just makes life more easy. Your perspective of life is easier, and therefore makes it more rich or rich-filled. That makes sense. All right, the format that I'm using right now, and we'll be upgrading this in the future, but for now, the framework, I'm in a different office here today, so the lighting's a little weird, that's okay. Esoteric thought of the day, behavior of the day, definition, news, strategy, prices, crypto picks, influences, and books and movies I pick for the day. All this is to help you and educate you to become a better you. Right? Before we get into anything else, let's just take a moment here, and I really appreciate y'all joining in and definitely hitting those like, subscribes, and notification bells. And definitely tell 5 friends. If each 5 friends tell 5 friends, tell those 5 friends, then I can get this channel up and running pretty quickly. So each of y'all who are joining me, I definitely appreciate y'all showing up. And hopefully this content is good. If you don't like it, definitely leave me a comment and leave me a critique and say, hey, I think this should be good, or try this, or do this. And I'll definitely take all those into consideration, and I definitely appreciate it. And just know I'm just a guy on the web making videos of just sharing what I know. I'm not your guru. I'm not your um, financial advisor. I'm not your religious leader. I'm not anything other than just a guy making videos. But I can call myself the esoteric crypto coach. I can help you along with what you need, just like an athlete needs a coach to sort of observe things from the outside, the bigger perspective, the panoptic, and then come in and then curtail it to the individual. So definitely, I'm not responsible for any of your decisions. You are. Take full responsibility for that. And myself, I don't invest more than I'm willing to lose. If that's a good advice for you, that's up to you to take it or not. It's not up to me for you to take it. So let's get on with the esoteric thought of the day. Excuse me. All right. Who would you be if you didn't choose to pursue money? If money wasn't a priority in your life, what would you be? How would you act? How would you think? Would you be different than what you are now? If you're not wasting all your 9 to 5s and times and troubles and entrepreneurial enterprises, and if you weren't doing that, who would you be? What would you be doing? So, a lot of times when we answer those questions, we can sort of have a clearer idea of what our path is. And then from that, we can create a plan, as we discussed in other videos. But as well, all this sort of starts with what your core value is. Who are you at the core? Core is just a root word to heart. The word heart and core are the same. So what's the heart of you? Is your heart love, compassion? Or is it, poor pity me, everyone else's fault, my life sucks? Right? If you claim yourself to be too hypersensitive to live in this world, it's because you're putting a label on yourself. That's a label. Hypersensitivity is a label. I get it. I'm one of these so-called hypersensitive, but I don't use it as a crutch. I don't use it as an excuse to go out and do what I want to do in this life. Right? I have the abilities, the tools, the knowledge to build frameworks so I'm not at mercy of that hypersensitivity. Right? Again, hypersensitivity is a label. A label came because of a behavior, and a behavior came because something affected you. And that thing that affected you, you gave it meaning because you interpreted it that way, which that all came from some sort of past life event. So you're still stuck in a victim triangle. The victim, persecutor, and the healer. You're always looking for gurus, someone to take your pain away or something to take your pain away, because you still blame others or something outside of yourself. And if you blame yourself, great, we can get over that as well, but that's not the discussion for today. Today's discussion, right, core values. For me, integrity, honesty, authenticity. These are a lot of words that look around. If it's for being a friend, if it's reliable, dependable, any type of these words, these are core values. This is what you live your life. Because if something comes up against that core value, your inner voice says, no, don't do that. Now, that doesn't mean we'll always not do it, but that's how we gain our experiences. That gives an interpretation, meaning, effect, and cause, and then a behavior, and then an outcome. But anywho, so what are your core values? And this is something for you to research. NLP, behavioral therapy, goes into this stuff pretty deeply. Again, we're keeping it casual. I just want to introduce you, plant some seeds, and see what happens. So these core values, it again helps you achieve your goals, right? When you understand why your goals aren't being met, if you're a goal setter. I'm not always a goal setter. I just do what unfolds in that moment. So for me, the unfolding moment is more important because that is my constant presence. And what my core values are will exude or will amplify in my external world, my exoteric world. So my internal world, my inner representation of who I am internally should be coming outward. In other words, I walk my walk, talk my talk. Now, I'm not perfect. You know, I hide behind ego just like some other people do, when sort of my own insecurities are pushed. But I welcome those because it helps me grow from that, and that way that button can't be triggered anymore, or I won't allow it to be triggered. Right. So when I hear people, oh, that triggered me, that's your choice, though, for it to trigger you, right? And you can deep down into it and say, okay, why is this triggering? For what reason? And what's the reason why? And what purpose is it serving me? We'll get into that at some other point, but you get the point. All right, so the core values gains you basically a desired state. So we're in a present state, desired state. And if you're not in your desired state, it's because the goals or the path that you have set are still unclear, or the exact steps, or you haven't broken them down small enough to yet understand them, because your core values aren't set yet. So when you set your core values, you start going toward your desired state. Your desired state leads you to understanding, which leads you to your goals or the accomplishments or achievements of those goals. Right? Make sense? Now let's get on. Let's get on to the definition of the day. All right, circulating supply. So when I look for a coin, I want to see the circulating supply, the max supply. I want to see the loan to value, held ratios. I want to see the market cap or total value ratio. I want to see all of these numbers, and this helps me see if a coin is overvalued or undervalued. Now, I'm not going to get into details of how I'm doing that. That can be a video on its own, because it can take a little bit. And basically, I'm just multiplying the total supply by the price, and that should give me the total value of what the coin can possibly be. So if I have a circulating supply of 1 billion out of the 1.8 billion, I multiply this times the market cap, and then it gives me the price, or I can divide it either way. Like I said, it's a little confusing if you're not familiar with it, but just know the definition of the day. When I go on to CoinGecko, I can look at a coin like stacks and then say, okay, what's the circulating supply and what's the total supply? So the circulating supply, as you see, is different than the max supply. That means there's only that many in circulation. And so that can either mean that they haven't minted all of them, or that a lot of them, 3% of them or so, are totally, the total value is locked in. That means someone is staking them, it's locked in. And they're sort of promising not to use them for a certain period of time. Could be months or up to a year, whatever, 2 years. So hopefully that makes sense. Some coins can be locked, reserved, burned, therefore unavailable to the public. So this is what's circulating in the open market for everyone to see and to get and to do with it what you want. Total supply is not completed yet. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense when you hear that term and other crypto users using the circulating supply, max supply, and all this type of market cap. Again, all that can be found on CoinGecko and under any coin. All right, let's get on to the next thing. News of the day. I thought this was interesting. Now, there's a lot of other news going on, but I just went for some of those who are new to this and going, oh, is this going to all fall apart next week? Well, here's an interesting figure, right? So the number of global users erupted to 221 million in the first half of this year, according to the new research. Now, from 12 years ago when this started up to we'll say January of this year, there's about 116 roughly users to cryptocurrencies, and in the last month or so, we've doubled that. So if that tells you that if it wasn't that good, it would be decreasing, but this is doubling almost every month. And it's only going to double thereafter, so all the coins that we're buying themselves will double up in value. So hopefully that's news of the day, so that helps you out. You can read that story. Strategy of the day. It's a simple one. Just buy the dip. Bitcoin went up to about 42 or so, and it started dipping a little bit. When you can look at a chart, and for example, let's pull up. Yeah, I got a lot of people pulled up here. Giving away my person of the day. Where's my buy dip? Oh, my stuff here. Let's pull it up real quick. I had it pulled up already. Just give it a second or two here. This one I had it pulled up. Oh well, we'll do it tomorrow. There we go. I did have it pulled up. So basically, we went up to about 42, and then all of a sudden it started pulling back. But if you're able to look at the patterns within that, and that can be a class, or you can go online to other YouTubers. They have all that information and details of how to do this. It's very in depth, and you have to practice a lot to understand the patterns. So, for example, down here, this RSI, or relative strength index, is bottoming out. But after you notice, after it bottoms out a while, it comes up, and that just means it's overbought. And so the price will start going up, as you see here. And when this starts going up, and these are all lagging indicators, so they basically just sort of show you a pattern of what's going on. So we can look at this pattern, like the MACD, which is a convergent divergent tool that we can use. So it's starting to come down, so I know that the Bitcoin price, and looking at some of these other things, tells me that the price is going to start going up here again. Now, there's no guarantee to that. My point to this is I can look at any of this and then have an idea of what's going on. And so when I can see a coin dipping because of I'm looking at some of the relative strength indexes and a few other things, I can say, hey, this coin's about to dip, and then I can see sort of where that bottom will be or around there, and then I can buy that dip. So Bitcoin was at 42 and it drops to 37, and I see it start going up, I can buy back in at 37. And then if it goes up higher and then dips it back down, I don't buy it at the top. I wait for it to come back down to correct itself. Because if it goes up too fast, it's going to correct itself, and then you're going to want to wait for it to come back down, and that's your buy-in point. That's what's called the buy the dip, and it's also, if you're unfamiliar, that's a term as well. There's a buy the effing dip, or BTFD, you'll see out there as well, but you get the point. And again, crypto pick of the day, as you saw earlier, it was Stacks. Now, Stacks I'm buying, or I've had, because of Miami coin is coming on, Miami City, Florida, here in the U.S. And so, or in the U.S., so you have to use that with Citicoin in order to mine the Miami coin. And then part of the mining of that, Miami can get up to 30% of that, or 100% if no one's sort of buying. It's a little more difficult, but a percentage, or we'll say 30% right now, of stacks being mined and Citicoin being mined, you can then turn around and 30% of that goes into the city. And so Citicoin has multiple cities that are coming online. San Francisco is going to be coming online too with their own crypto. So keep an eye on that. But Stacks is one of these coins that I think as people use more city coins and more city coins come on, I think Stacks is because it's part of that, it's going to keep going up. And we've already seen an 8.3 rise today. All right, guys, influencer of the day. Now, this doesn't look like your normal guy, and I appreciate that. I like all authors, influencers. And this guy here calls himself the uneducated economist. And he is a lumber worker out up in Oregon, Washington, somewhere up there, I believe. And so he's able to predict certain things that are coming or understand things from a different perspective. Seems very country, but he's very smart when it comes to understanding the patterns. And when he can see the patterns in the lumber, he can sort of dictate what's happening in all the other commodities and assets around the world. So check him out, the uneducated economist. I'll put a link down below for him. And that way you can go watch him on YouTube as well. Now, book and movie. I'll be doing more movies because I know in today's society people can watch movies quicker than they'll read a book. But Joel Osteen, he's a religious character. Love him. He doesn't yell, scream, hate, or anything like that. He just does his best. He's an authentic being. Again, I've never personally met him, but I've read a lot of his books, most of his books. And again, anything that helps you become better, I recommend his books, all his books to anyone. It does get a little religious, so if you're not really into the religious part of it, that's fine. But his help, his observation, his tools in which to help you become better, I like him for that. So that is my book and pick of the day is Joel Osteen and all. He has a book, Becoming a Better You. I've read all of them, but I like that one pretty much. But that is going to be it for today then. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you have any questions or comments, please definitely hit the like button. And I don't like hitting things, but go ahead. I was in martial arts most of my life, so hitting gets a little painful. Sports as well. But if you want to just hug that like button, give it some love, and that notification bell, and tell 5 friends. And I definitely appreciate all y'all coming out here and watching these videos for me and support me. And so if there's anything I can do, I'll just keep presenting this information, and it will grow as I grow, and as my crowd and my supporters grow. So guys, I appreciate it, and remember to stay casual.